Generally, I don't like turn-based games, but I would say this is one of the few exceptions. I did play the original Persona 5, but that was borrowed from a friend, and now I have Royal, which is my own copy. So yeah. Unlike most other turn-based games where it's either you go, I go, you go, I go, or something like Final Fantasy VII or Chrono Trigger where you have to wait for this bar to load up before you can actually move. So in theory, your enemies can attack multiple times before you attack, and if you don't do anything, then you're kind of screwed. I mean, I don't like those. If it's just you go, I go, that I see that as kind of boring. Like with Pokemon, I see that as kind of boring. You can take your turn, then if the enemy's not dead after one hit, you can take a nap, make a sandwich, go through all of high school, and you could still keep that battle going, assuming your console doesn't burn out. But with the other system where it's like that bar that loads up, I don't like that either, because yes, that keeps you more on your toes, but I just find that more stressful, and it's not something where it's like you can do it off of instincts and reflexes, kind of like that's how maybe Dark Souls would do it, or any action based oriented game. You just I just know to press these buttons because this is the kind of game I'm used to. It's like, well, no, you're just you have this time limit, and you basically just have to put in these commands. You have to think out your strategy while having to worry about how much time you have to do it, and it's just this whole thing that I don't like. Now, Persona 5 falls into that first category where it's you go, I go, you go, I go. But they add enough to it where it keeps it interesting. The strengths and weaknesses going on, there's a lot of options, but if you use an attack strong against an enemy, you also can knock them down, which, that adds another layer. And then you can, negotiate with them, you ask for money, ask for items, maybe even ask an enemy to join you. So, that's pretty cool. Then there's also technical attacks where if you give them a status ailment and then attack them with certain other attacks, like if an enemy's confused and use psychokinetic skills, it'll, be a technical and down them. If they're frozen or whatever the electrical stun is, if you do regular or gun attacks on someone with that, that's another technical that you can down them with. And I think that keeps it interesting. And and then if you do that, you can go again. You get several moves, or you can baton pass, where you can let your teammates go after you've gone. And I just really like those as mechanics because they add, it's a one after another turn-based game, but it keeps you on your toes. It adds more strategy to it. I just like it. And I like the direction, Persona takes that. The other half of Persona is building social connections. In 5, it's confidants. Basically just here's a character. Go hang out with them, have fun, be their friend. And you can do that multiple times until you have a very deep connection and you form a blood oath. And it's not just that, you can get tons of bonuses out of them. And some of the confidants are really good, which, let's see. What are some of the best ones that you can get? Sun, which gives you better negotiation tools. Moon, which gives you higher experience. The Star, which gives you other battle tactics, like being able to switch party members out mid-battle, which is pretty useful. Temperance, which helps you save time in the overworld. I'm sure there's a few others, but yeah, those definitely help. And then you've got your party members, which you can build confidant stuff with. That's also really helpful. And it's not just that. Some of their stories are really interesting too. And basically, the whole game, when you're not in a combat area, you're basically trying to decide, okay, what can I do that will either raise my social stats to allow me to do more things, or what can I do to hang out with a person to give me more benefits, to see more of their character in depth. It's such a game chock full of so many things, and it does it amazingly. You can spend several days just going to batting cages and just batting practice, and that'll raise your proficiency. Or maybe you could want to just hang out with people, so you just hang out with people every day and just have a good time with them. See unique dialogue for them. and that's really cool. And then I really like how the whole Phantom Thieves angle turns out, because I played not very much of Persona 4, and I've watched like half of the anime, and then I just kind of never went back for whatever reason, even though I was still interested. Also, I found out recently that I totally predicted who the killer is in Persona 4. Not that it was that hard to predict, but anyway, I like the Phantom Thieves angle, because, rather than, oh, we go here because of, solving a murder? Sure. I guess that's the goal in Persona 4, but in 5, it's like, okay, society sucks, adults suck, let's steal, their bad qualities so that they're less awful. And it plays up the gentleman thief type of archetype. I really like that. And a lot of the locations of the palaces are really unique and creative. And like, you go through them and you're just kind of sneaking around. I mean, sure, you're going to have to fight people, but you have to ambush them so that you don't draw attention to yourself. But if they see you, that, raises the threat level. And just the aesthetics of everything works really well too. And of course, as with most anime, everything's about friendship, and by the end you punch God in the face. I mean, what more can you ask for? The story's fantastic, the characters are fantastic. There's just a lot going for Persona 5, but Royal adds a few more things. For one, you get, a few more things that you can do. I think they add an entirely new city. I could be wrong about that one, but I'm pretty sure it's the one with the darts and billiards area, with the jazz club and so on and so forth. I'm pretty sure that's a new city. They add 2 new confidants, and they expand one confidant, so that rather than it upgrading through the story, you have to hang out with them up to a certain point. And I really like the additional content. So spoilers, I guess, for the Royal editions, but one of the confidant that gets expanded into like a hangout confidant is Judgment, it's Justice, which is Akechi. And his hangouts are interesting. They start out one way, and then by the end of his confidant, you're like, oh, that's different. I guess I did the spoiler warning, so it's okay. So you start out, and it's like, oh, just, friendly hangout with this guy who's kind of uppity, but he's friendly, whatever. And you have these, just these normal interactions with him. And then by the end, he's like, okay, I want to test your strength, fight me. And then he's like, you know what? I hate you. And it's just like, wait, what? I thought we were friends. And then he like challenges you, and it's like, okay. This took a turn. I mean, I knew what was coming with him towards the end of the game, but like, it was just regular hangouts. I was like, are they going to take this story in a new direction? Or nope, they're not going to take it in a new direction, but they're going to make it seem like it's coming out of nowhere for anyone who hasn't played yet. So, all right. Then the other 2 confidants were the Faith Arcana and the Counselor Arcana. The Faith Arcana you only get half of in the main game, which is fine. She's a wonderful confidant. I like her. She's an interesting character. I was like, ooh, I'm gonna date her, like, immediately. I was like, oh, she's best girl right now. At least she's new to me, so for now she's best girl. Which, oddly enough, I never finished out every girl's confidant in order to date any of them. I mean, I finished out a couple, so I did end up dating Futaba the first time through. But when I got to Royal, I started being like, I never did Makoto's confidant, but I really like hers. Wow, why am I not doing hers? But I had to do Yoshizawa's first, because, I mean, come on, she's the new character. I kind of felt like I had to. It felt like an obligation. Then the rest of her confidant you only get access to, and the dating, which you can only get at level 10. The rest of that's for, the extra semester which they added in for Royal. Then the last new confidant, the Counselor Arcana, is Maruki. And he's a very interesting one. He just comes in as a school counselor because, your school had just one of the worst teachers on Earth. And he's the first villain that you have to face. And so they're like, okay, the students are having a bad time. We need a counselor to fix their mental problems. And he's a very interesting character. He's really chill. He's a really good counselor, actually. He's like, oh, like, yeah, we don't have to do anything. I'm not here to give advice. Let's just talk it out, and you can come to your own conclusions. And it's like, wow, that's pretty much what therapists do. Way to go. At any rate, you basically just help him talk about these theories he has about, like, what if you could just remove anything from a person's thoughts that would make them sad? What if you could just fix people? And you later find out that he's in the same field as, Futaba's mother was, which is cognitive science, spelled with a P. And that's basically where the other world comes from, which is like the world of personas. And then towards the end of the game, he just kind of leaves, which is before the extra semester. And it's like, oh, okay, he's just gone, sure. But, most of the rest of the game plays out pretty normal. I mean, they add a few interactions with these characters here and there where they weren't before. For the most part, the rest of the game is pretty much the same, which, all right. But the extra semester, ooh boy. The extra semester I really liked. So there is a palace that you enter midway through the main game, only in Royal, where Yoshizawa first unlocks her persona. But she doesn't join your party. And you're like, what is this palace? This is an odd palace. And then it's just dropped until later. So you start the new semester, and something's not right. People are alive that shouldn't be. People are happy about things that shouldn't exist. And you're the only one, besides Akechi and Yoshizawa, who sees that something's not right here. Like literally, one day in, I was like, oh, that's not... What? Excuse me? And I mean, like, Morgana's a human, Futaba's mom is alive, Makoto's dad is alive, just all sorts of things are wonky. And then Akechi approaches you, even though he should be dead, and he's like, you've noticed this is wrong too, right? And then he's like, okay, here's the deal. I don't like you, you don't like me, but let's work together until we figure out what's going on. And then Yoshizawa basically calls you and is like, hey, I found that palace again, except it's in the real world. That's not right. So you go there, and let me just say, Akechi joins you as an extra party member, and it's not like he was when he joined you the first time. He now has his true armor, and he's way more sadistic, which is kind of cool. I liked that little change. And instead of Robin Hood, he's using Loki. So basically, you start going through this palace, everything's all well and good, but it's off a little bit, rather than the normal palaces where people are being oppressed and someone's power hungry, or like Futaba's where she's just like, I just want to run away, I just don't want to deal with my problems, and there's still like hostile monsters running around. It's like a hospital, and they're like, we just want to help you, and Akechi's like, oh, that's kind of culty. But it's like, yeah, this is oddly positive. I don't understand. And then you find out Dr. Maruki is the bad guy. Oh my god. And his goal is, hey, I have changed reality. I've changed everyone's cognition of reality to make the impossible possible. And that's my goal. I want to fix everything. And at first I was like, oh man, how are we going to justify, like, fighting him? But then you go more into it and it's like, oh, you're basically undoing all the fighting that anyone ever had to do. Like, everyone's life is basically meaningless now because they're just happy, unless they're evil. And one other thing, you can't make everyone happy. You just can't. It's just not possible. So I was like, okay, yeah, this guy's crazy and needs to go down because people need to be able to live their life. They can't just live in blissful ignorance. And that's fine because, people go through hardships. Those hardships build your character. They define who you are. Well, I suppose not so much the hardships, more just how you deal with them and what becomes of you after they occur. But yeah, so then the rest of your party eventually joins you, and some of the enemies in the area started to be like, oh, these are just like weird Cthulhu monsters. Is that who the final boss is going to be? Yeah, you're damn right that's who the final boss is going to be. I was thinking Cthulhu, which I'm surprised it wasn't. But it was Azathoth, that's what it was. And I mean, it's still really cool, and that was kind of an interesting boss fight. He spawns like all these tendrils, and they each have different elemental weaknesses, so you have to like kill all the tentacles or they'll heal him. And then you can attack between him or his persona, and I just attacked his persona, and it was a tough boss fight. It was very unique and interesting. And then he, of course, upgrades his persona to Adam Cadmon, and he's like the original man or something, but not Adam of Eden. He's like the heavenly spiritual version of Adam or something, which is an interesting idea. But he's like an extra powerful persona, which is, it's definitely something. And I just found all of that really cool. I liked it. It was Persona 5 that I had enjoyed the first time, made a little bit better, some extra things to do, extra quality of life fixes, and then a really cool extra semester with, new personas, new stuff to do, just an entirely new palace to infiltrate. It was all really cool. So yeah, I really enjoyed Persona 5 Royal. That's it. Thank you for watching. Click all the buttons and have a nice day.